You are listening to That Big CEO Energy, where we talk all things business, life, marriage, and push you to a new edge of discovering what that big CEO energy means for you. Listen, I understand that we have barriers that we carry from when we were once employees, and those have impacted us as we continue to build our businesses. I'm here to walk alongside you and give you encouragement through interviews with friends and other women in business who have broken down those barriers and paved their own way. Tune in with me as we uncover some of the unconscious things that we do that keep us from building that big CEO energy we've always dreamed about. Let's dive in. Welcome back. You are on the 5th episode of the Inner Work Soul Journey series, and we are kind of coming to a wrap-up point. I started with 6 sessions available working with Laura Kelly, and now we have finished 5. And towards the end of this episode, which I'm not going to include in here for various reasons, but we recognize that I am not super great with words in terms of helping people understand kind of what the journey looks like. And while that may seem a little bit strange if you are on my social media and, you probably think to yourself, you put it together just fine. Or maybe you think to yourself, she doesn't put it together that great. Either one is fine. But at the end of our working session, we determined that kind of the 6th section will be tactical. So I'm not sure if that one will be included in here, but we will see when the time comes. But for this session specifically, I started to open up about kind of this overall struggle that I have. And it is from multiple facets of my life and just sort of feeling like I'm back to square one. Like I am feeling like a little bit of a disaster, if you could say so myself. And so in this first part, that is kind of what we're talking about, is sort of those feelings of not feeling great, sort of what has come up in me over the past couple weeks, what is sheltering me from being able to move forward and really put this out into the world that I'm trying to do. And so as we kind of work through that, I want you to kind of tune in and listen to the struggle and me opening up. I think it would allow me to really be in my zone of genius, like fully immersed in that. Because right now it's like damage control as we go along, right? So there's not an opportunity to be proactive enough to see far enough down the road where it's like, this is a little struggle right now. Okay, I can at least get her through this hurdle. And so, but I also need to be able to, right? Last time we talked about only spending 10 minutes of reflection. Yes. I need to be able to spend that extra time and say like, okay, what else is this impacting that even I don't see? And so what's going to come up in the next month, 3 months, 6 months that I need to be aware of and help when that shows up? Because I'm such a proactive person anyway, like I know that I need that not just for myself, but to be prepared when those things arise with that person. So I feel like it would allow me to kind of build out some structure.
Okay.
And sort of like design not necessarily a program, but like stepping stones, and be able to kind of start reflecting back on like the things that I'm mitigating as we go along and say, okay, like
what is in my toolkit?
Yes. This showed up, this showed up, this showed up.
Yeah.
Okay. And it happened in this order, like almost like an analysis. I'd be able to use some of that and also proactively flip it and use it in marketing or whatever that is. I'm recognizing that I need that time and space
There's something that I have picked up recently. You know how we just live our lives and we pick up little seeds and nuggets along the way. And it's this piece about how, well, for me, it was rooted in my physical body. Essentially, it was that what would it mean for me to believe fully that my body is actually the perfect teammate to fulfill my soul's mission? Me and my body. What if we are the perfect teammates for what it is that we have to do on this earth? And the extension of that is everything. What if the current circumstances that I'm in are the perfect circumstances for me to go through to enact the mission and purpose that my soul has? What if the difficult client interaction that I might have, or what if the circumstances that are related to time or resources, or what if all of these things that are at play, what if all these little challenges and obstacles that come into our path and all the things that are difficult that, you rise above and the things that you have to learn, what if all of that is the perfect mix of ingredients for you to get to where it is that you're going? This is something that I'm kind of exploring in myself. There is very clearly a connection between what it is that you are meant to be doing with your coaching work that ties directly back to your career experience. So what if everything that you're about to go through as you potentially make this change and moving forward with yourself in this new endeavor, what if all of that is the perfect soup for what it's going to teach you on the way? And then what if that is what carries you forward and brings you? Then in that sense, kind of just makes you look around when you're in the circumstance and go, I need to learn everything I can about what is around me and act and move it forward. And it sounds like you're already seeing that connection between what is your soul's mission and what obstacles are currently at your feet to have to kind of fight for to keep going on that path.
It makes total sense to me when I let the world go quiet and just sit and reflect on whether it's the day or the week and go, what just happened?
Yeah.
What just happened, but also what didn't happen and what didn't I feel?
Mm.
And I feel like that process of not only identifying like how good I felt throughout the week and like all the good things, right, that happened. I think sometimes we get in this mode of like, just be grateful, like find gratitude, which is lovely and it's beautiful. And those are all things that you need in your life. But it's at some point you also have to reflect and go like, what didn't serve me this week? What was really, really challenging? And like, what was I actually pissed about this week in order to go, so what's going to change? Like I'm trying to live in the yes and like, yes, I'm really, really grateful. Please do not like mince words. Like I am so grateful for the life that I have.
Yeah.
And I have to recognize all of the difficulty that I'm feeling right now.
Yeah.
Because if I don't do that, nothing's going to change. And I'm just going to end up getting so bothered that like, I'll just be like, this is my life now. This is what I have to deal with, air quotes, like feel.
I don't actually think that's an option for you.
Yeah.
I don't think there is a conceivable world where Callie, as we know and love her, is going to be like, well, I guess this is just it and I'm done and it is what it is. But there's a lot of people living life that way.
There is so many. And I think some of that underlying fear is ending up being that person, of like, I don't ever want to wake up someday and go, status quo is good enough. Like that would be terrifying to me, but it also would be a disservice to like who I have worked my ass off to become. And so if anything, like this last, I don't know, couple of weeks has just been like trying to really understand what makes the most sense. In this next part of our coaching call, there is a lot of this talk about fear. And it is interesting because fear shows up in my life in a variety of ways, but most recently, it has started to show up in my life as an excitement point, as something that moves the needle of who I am forward in an exciting way and looking forward to working through the challenge with excitement rather than letting fear make my decisions. And it's so interesting listening back to that and thinking to myself, this still resonates today. I do, like any other human, wake up with fear and have fear throughout my day, but I have learned to not let fear drive my negative emotions, my negative decisions, but also look at it in the face and ask what it is trying to tell me. And from there, really discern how I'm going to move forward. So take a listen.
It sounds like you've got fear right where you want it. It's like in the bus, but it's not in church.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think fear is giving me the opportunity to find options. You know, I think there's a huge difference between letting fear make your decisions and doing decisions based out of fear than really like looking fear in the face and saying like, okay, I see your question, but what is your question behind the question?
Right.
Like, what is that thing that fear is trying to tell me? And it's saying something else on the face. Like I'm really actually excited to like start digesting that a little bit more and be like, okay, so you feel like you can't leave because of X, Y, and Z. Okay, what is, like, let's name that. Let's name those things. And then what's happening that creates those. Because I feel like, I know. Hello. Here I am. But I feel like once I get to like what the actual thing is that I am fearful of, I think then I'll really decide of like, am I just in a rough season? When I reflect back on that little segment, it is through kind of my rough little season that I'm having that really sets me up for reflecting about the next year. Laura asked me, what does the next year look like? If we had to talk about Callie in the next year, what does that show up as? But more specifically, what does today need from me? And what I came to the realization of is that I need to be taking up space, because space is where I feel joyful. Sharing my heart is where I feel most comfortable, and being vulnerable in spaces with other humans that are also vulnerable really lights my soul on fire. And when I'm able to be that, I think in the next year, I will look back at today and say, wow, that was really something. You've got yourself to a position where you are openly sharing your heart and people are resonating with that. So that is my hope. And that is my takeaway sort of in this next segment.
This is where I like to give future Callie the benefit of the damn doubt, because she is going to know what to do. She is going to fight for yourself. And by the way, I think we're ready to release the fear of you waking up with no more striving inside of you, no more desire for growth, no more problem solving ability. I don't see a day where you wake up and you don't have that fire within you. It is not something that you have to hold on to keep. That fire it's already within. And so I wouldn't place a bet that's against you. I'd bet on you in any situation in the future, because you are only going to get stronger and more confirmed in what it is that you need to do and where you're going and why it's important and why you're the right person to do it with time. Those things are only going to get stronger. You think you're feeling aligned with your message and your purpose now, wait till you meet yourself next year.
Oh, I know.
Oh my gosh. Like, what would she even say to you now? Give me Callie 2024, May 19. What does she know that you don't know yet? What does she see?
I think she sees someone who has released so much trauma, big T and little t, that it's this outpouring of nothing but like, hell yes, we're doing it. You know, we are in full swing and doing it, and we're feeling really, really good about the people that we have in our life, about the people that we are serving. And I just keep going back to all the things I want to feel.
Yes, I have that list right here.
I have the list, you know, like I'm fully confident in my body. I feel joy. I feel peace.
Yes.
You know, like those are my top 3.
Loved in my soul.
Loved in my soul. Yeah.
Empowered. Yeah. Like my work matters.
Yes.
Like I can take up space.
Yes.
Feeling.
So she is taking up space.
Yeah.
All kinds of space.
Yeah.
You know, and the space is one that not necessarily hasn't been created by her, but created for her.
What's coming up for me is the question, it's 2 parts. What would it offer to you if every day you were able to sit with what present version of you needs right now? So what you need today on this Friday afternoon, what it is that it feels good for you, is supportive for you. And then what if you were also able to help out future Callie by taking a step towards the direction that she's going? Not in a way that we have to check the box and be like, oh, cool, I did a task or I did a thing that like gets me closer to her. But like, she's coming. She's going to be in the present day before we know it. It's going to be 2024 and we're going to be having a conversation, looking back at this session and being like, it's May 19th. I'm going to put it in my calendar to send you a message and be like, hello, 2024, Callie. And what is the impact if we every day think, what is it that I can offer to myself that's supportive, that I need to feel peace and loved in my soul and like my work matters and empowered and like I can take up space and welcome in my body and feel myself? How do I do that? And then also, how do I buy in just a little bit more on the direction that I am no doubt heading in?
That's the daily action, right? You have to buy into yourself. You have to be all in on whatever that 24 hours wants from you. It's not necessarily what you're going to be doing in 3 years or even a year or even a month or even next week. Like, what does today need from you? And I feel like that is my challenge right now, to be able to serve myself in such a way that is kind, that is gentle, and that is loving. Because oftentimes right now, I wake up and feel a sense of urgency, which is then positioning me to be where I don't want and who I'm not aligned to be. And it's because this rat race of corporate has somehow crept back in. And that's what I would feel every single morning. And so I have enough intuition in myself on a daily basis, you know, that buying into myself means also buying into the idea that like, this isn't serving me. And so when I'm completely like bought in, I think then the question becomes, so what are you going to do?
Which is a scary place to be sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's scary, but also there's a point where you can pivot that, right? Mm-hmm. And is it scary or is it an opportunity? Because if you see it as an opportunity, again, the buy-in has to come with questions to yourself.
At the end of the day, what do we have to lose other than the things that we're already prepared for? Wrong turns, missteps, mistakes, more lessons learned, failures, judgments, being misunderstood, the discomfort of putting ourselves out there when for our whole lives, society has said, make yourself as small as possible and do not step out into the light until you are what we think is worthy of being looked at and respected and appreciated.
And who is we?
Yeah.
Who gets to decide that? Because on one hand, you're told, be authentic, be yourself, show up in your little corner of the internet, and blah, blah, blah. Well, that's a backhanded compliment, because why are you just giving me a little corner of the internet? Finally, in our session, we work back with how I'm pivoting now versus how I was pivoting when I really wanted to leave corporate. And coincidentally enough, it is different. Some of the same things are showing up, but I think I'm able to recognize them a little bit differently. And I paint this picture of when you open the door, right? And wind is coming and it gives you that moment. Sometimes it is us trying to catch our breath out of necessity, and other times it is allowing that breath to give us a new opportunity and to give us a way to be able to move ourselves forward. I have a lot of variations in my life. I have a lot of seasons that are just so very different. But I think the main priority has always been, how can I do it different? How does this make sense? And why am I having to struggle through this? I think this self-reflection and this deep work that I am trying to accomplish leaves me only an opportunity to be able to grow. So this last part is just really honestly showing my heart and how difficult, but how refreshing it is that I am in the space of pivoting now versus how I was 3 years ago.
You have been reinventing and pivoting for years.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just now I do it with a different lens that is honestly probably in a much more beautiful space than I was when I was trying to do it before.
Yeah. What's the difference?
I do it with my soul in mind and an authenticity that makes it worth it to me and not what society or my family or what anyone else might think. And I think that that's probably the most beautiful way to do it.
I'm so proud of
I'm
you.
excited for myself.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Well, I mean, even just the work that you've done, I've been so enamored. It's part of why I've wanted to make personal development my career, is because I've benefited from it so much. I've benefited from my own. And I just think it's really fascinating that like where we put our energy is where we can see change. So the coolest thing is like, who even knows what you're going to be working on in 5 years, right?
Yeah.
Who knows what the circumstances are going to be in terms of what's on your calendar, what's in your bank account, what offerings are available on your website. We don't know those specifics right now, but we do know that you're getting so much stronger every time you go through one of these ups and downs or one of the roller coaster moments. Every time you walk up the hike, you know, and then find yourself at the bottom of the next one, which is some of what that feeling was that emerged at the beginning, right? Is like, as the details start to click into place clarity-wise about what we want, oftentimes what that presents, because we're going to use the fog as an analogy. A lot of time when clients are coming to me and they're wanting to get some of that clarity, the fog is the best way to describe it, because You can be walking along a path, and if we're in a really thick fog, we don't see what's ahead of us. We can't envision what's there. When the fog starts to lift and it starts to dissolve and go away, oh my gosh, there's almost always this moment of like, I'm so far from what it is that I want to create. It's that the fog lifts and you realize that you are at the base of a mountain. And sometimes in that moment, there's a little part of you inside that goes, let me just go back to the fog. Let's put the fog back up so we can just pretend that we didn't even see that mountain, that we don't have to do all of that hard work and go through all of that painstaking up and down. It is very normal to arrive in clarity with the realization of what is ahead of you and have that feel big. Good news is you already know how to handle that. You already know what to do when you're at the base of a mountain. You already know that it's not in service of you to think of every single thing that you're going to have to do up and down that climb all at once. That's not how you get the best outcome for yourself, is to package it all up at once and think it's too big, it's too overwhelming, it's too scary. You already know how to arrive at the base of a mountain. It's one foot in front of the other. It's the next step. It's the expansion outside of the comfort zone. It's recognizing that you're going to have off days where the fog is back. You've lost where you're at on this hike. You don't even really know like where you're headed. And it's recognizing that those are sometimes good days to just sit down, play in the dirt, and wait till the fog lifts, or pour something into you that helps that fog lift sooner. This is where self-awareness comes in. But you know how to move yourself along that path. So as your pieces are kind of starting to click into place here, sometimes that clarity brings that overwhelm of like, oh my gosh, I am at the beginning. You're not at the beginning. You're just at the first step of something that is new. And I love that you're excited about it.
Mm-hmm. You can be really fearful of just change, because it is just something new yet again. And it came with an exasperated sigh. Yeah. But what I'm learning is something new it's scary, right? New things are always going to have fear that is placed in the back row. But I think the more I go along, the more I realize that something new is an opportunity with a breath of fresh air. And it's almost like, when you step outside and it's really windy and you open the door and you get
takes your breath away.
It takes your breath away. Yeah. And so it's almost just a welcome opportunity to like, let that kind of cleanse you. And then when you catch your breath, it's almost a moment of clarity to say, okay, now what do I do with this information? This new thing, like, am I going to figure it out? Or is this a fleeting thought? And I think that's been really helpful for me to just decipher what's new and fresh and fun that I want to explore. What's new that maybe we could revisit a little bit later, we call it the parking lot. And then what's new that comes in and needs to be a fleeting thought and just move on.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the fleeting thoughts are the ones that are laced with fear. And oftentimes it's not anything good that you really need to pay attention to. It can be you recognizing that it's there, that it is a thought, but also like bidding it adieu. Go over there. I don't have to address that. And not having to address it isn't because it's a self-righteous thing, but it's not addressing it because there's other things that are more worthy of time and effort. And I think it's weeding, sort of weeding the garden of let's start plucking the things that just they're dead. They don't need to be there. If they overgrow the beautiful thing that is trying to sprout, then all that's going to be left is this exasperation of, I'm just going to let it keep overpowering me.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't do anything good for anyone. So as I said before, this session ends up kind of an ending on this note. I know it's just a little bit kind of jumbled at the end there, and it feels like I'm leaving you off a cliff. But the reason why I'm leaving you off the cliff is the conversation pivots to the tactical things, and that just doesn't make sense for what I'm trying to do. So I think moving forward, there will be a lot of change that you will see. And my hope through letting you kind of into this part of my life and having you experience some of the things and the episodes that come after this, really my hope is that you will find yourself in the same boat that I am, but in a different lens. And it really is, if you are going through something difficult, if you are feeling like what you are doing is not quite what you want to be doing, take some time. Take some time to really work through that. And I will have a couple episodes coming up that will help us on a tactical perspective to be able to work through those. But I really appreciate Laura asking the questions that are deep in my soul to be able to help me to yearn differently. And so my hope for you today is that you will do just that. You will yearn differently, and you will allow yourself to look fear in the face and ask it the question behind the question to really determine what is next for you. Until next time. Thanks for tuning into the show today. If you heard something that helped you, I would love it if you would leave a review and share it with your friends. This helps more people just like you become inspired to move the needle of their big CEO energy into a positive direction. If you would like to learn more about how I can help you streamline and position your business for growth or lead your business as a CEO, feel free to jump into the show notes with all of the links to find me. And don't forget to head over to Instagram so we can be pals.